This right here is the DC Defenders Show on United Football Media. It's me and Tay, DMV born and bred, coming to you, bringing the homegrown DC Defenders coverage. DC Defenders this past weekend participating in possibly the best game of the season for the UFL. It's been a couple of times we've said that, man. The DC Defenders have been a phenomenal team this year, and it continued this past weekend. What a game of ebbs and flows. I was saying in our group chat, man, they were that first quarter. It looked like it was going to be a steamrolling. That sack fumble almost returned for a touchdown. That would have been, to me, it looked like Arlington was ready to quit. They wanted no more. If he would have taken that thing back for a touchdown, that would have been the end of the game. But he didn't. He fumbled it out of bounds. Arlington gets the ball back. And then there we are on the way to a shootout, to an insane game that went all the way down to the last drive. Luis Perez doing one of the wildest things you've ever seen in a football game, deciding on his own unilaterally that he's going to fake spike instead of throw the spike when they're already pretty much in field goal range to throw a game-sealing interception. Amazing awareness by DeAndre Baker to know what was going on, to not get faked out, to jump that route. Phenomenal job. I talked about it on our overall recap show for the whole UFL. Tell me about it. I just don't know. The risk reward wasn't even close to being there, because at best, what are you going to do? Gain 2 or 3 more yards? And sure, sometimes that's the difference between a made field goal and not. But all of the things that could have gone wrong and lose you the game on that decision, I feel like that list was a lot longer, and we saw one of them. The list was so long that it was bound to have one of them happen, and one of them did happen. DeAndre Baker with the fantastic interception. Fantastic game. Another great game for Tiamu. 15 for 26, 250. He also caught a touchdown and hurdled a defender. For my money, he's coming up. He's picking up steam in this MVP race, especially with Bryce Perkins sitting out with a hurt ankle this past weekend. And we said Tiamu has the performances, but he doesn't quite have the highlight reel. Well, he started to add to it this weekend. That catch from Chris Rowland where he hurdles a defender on the way into the end zone. Fantastic stuff. Another great game out of Jordan Tiamu. Another game, Tay, my man, where Deion Jackson is out carrying Abram Smith. 2 great effectiveness, by the way. 10 carries with 9 yards of carry for Deion Jackson. He was out of control. This whole offense was clicking against this fantastic Arlington defense. A wild game overall. The offensive line, I feel like we say it every week. Basically, everybody on the whole offensive line had an 80 pass blocking grade. Did a great job. I was laughing. Our center, Michael Maietti, I'm pretty sure it's the first time he's gotten his name called this whole damn season, was when he got a penalty and got a touchdown call back. They showed him and put his name on the screen when that happened, but they haven't said, you haven't heard nothing else about him all year unless you've been listening to this pod, how good the offensive line has been. That's the life of an offensive lineman, especially a center. I know it well. But the offensive line was fantastic. Receiving numbers, Cornell Powell more and more moving into a number 1 receiver role. 4 catches on 5 targets, 2 touchdowns, 60 yards. Did a great job. It was spread out all around the rest of it. Our man, Javon Antonio, he had a good catch percentage. He caught 3 out of 4 targets, but that 1 target was a drop. Would have been a first down. That was tough. We're still with you, Javon. Still with your development. Exciting young player for the Defenders going forward. The defense, man, some of the same luminaries. Joseph Wallace with a 90 PFF grade was going off. Pressure after pressure, multiple sacks. Joseph Wallace, the man, emerging out of nowhere this year. Derek Roberson with another fantastic game, a 79 PFF grade. Love everything he's doing. Andre Mincy playing defensive end, somebody who haven't heard that much about so far this year, came in and had a fantastic game. 90 PFF grade on 42 snaps, an 89 pass rush grade. The defensive backs, other than DeAndre Baker, who had an 83 overall grade, defensive backs had a rough go of it in this one. Hey, you're going against one of the best passing offenses in the league. Tyler Vaughns, we told you about the guy. 2 incredible highlight catches. He was all over the place. We told you this was going to be 2 big-time offenses slugging it out, and that's exactly what it was. but our man DeAndre Baker showed up in a huge way throughout the game and with the game-sealing interception. What are your overall thoughts on this one, Tay?
Well, I think I said it last week. The Renegades, they always find a way to lose the game.
Yeah, when things started getting close, I was like, no, we'll be all right because it's the Renegades in a close game. So
I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried. I mean, they know, like we know, they can score 30, they'll score 20, they'll be right there, but they won't win. Yep. Yeah, the defenders started off kind of rough. Roland fumbled the first punt return of the game. They got the ball on like 30-yard line, and we held them to a field goal. That was important. That slows it down. Like if they scored a touchdown there, the game could be different. They only got a field goal there, and then we came right back down, scored a touchdown. So yeah, you just got to answer, to turnovers like that. Just defense went out, and just that, I feel like that alone, that sets the momentum of the game. Te'Amo has been playing his best football. Ever since I say like week 4, week 5, he's been playing his best football. Yep. I don't remember any turnovers. He's been killing it. Yeah, I don't remember. He's been completely taking care of the ball. O-line protects him. He doesn't get sacked really at all. Deion Jackson had his best game of the year. Like you said, he had a 27-yard catch too. I think it was in the second, third quarter, but yeah, everything clicked. Cornell Powell, 2 touchdowns. We continue to just have guys step up in the receiving room. Yeah, this offense is red hot. I'm loving it. We thought it was going to be the defense, but it's looking like the offense is like the better end of the team. The defensive line is good, but the offense, I feel like the offense has been showing up every single week. No matter, they score whatever needs to be scored. I feel like we had to score 25 plus like almost every game. So offense has been lights out. Te'Amo has been playing great football. And I mean, at this point in the year, I mean, he's definitely in the top 2 at MVP race, 100%. It'll be the team record and all that stuff. Yep. So yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. We talked about this a little bit on Tell Me About It, but the home fields for these playoffs have already been decided. We already kind of went into that. I'm not going to go into like this whole big old rant about it. We'll do something at some point where we'll really dig into it. And people, it's no shade to anybody. It's not like a conspiracy against DC in particular. It's just you get handed a situation and you choose how you to handle the situation. And the way they chose to handle it is crap. I mean, that's I'm not saying it's the league's, conspiracy to keep, because it could have happened to San Antonio on the XFL side too. They had venue issues. Detroit had venue issues on their side. But if you know this, then you have time to come up with a better contingency than just hand home field to one of the 2 teams that are in the game. Like the NFL and the NCAA do same week venue changes all the time in the same week, let alone when this months in advance. You could have figured out something better than, I'm sorry, like this would be a massive scandal in any other sports league. Imagine that Eagles and Commanders game that your team in the NFL was in the playoffs, and some big storm happened and it knocked out. It made the Eagles home field, because they had home field advantage in the playoff game. It made their stadium not usable, and so the NFL said, "Okay, well, we'll come up with a neutral site so that doesn't favor anybody. We're going to have the game at the Commanders' home stadium." Like, how would that go? How would that go in a home game? Right? It would be insane. The backlash that would happen out of that. But we're not quite at that point yet, because hey, the Battlehawks could win out and the Stallions could win out. And well, not just win out, but take over the number 1 seed. Both the Battlehawks and the Stallions could do that, and then none of this will matter. But even then, it's process over results. This was shitty process. Come to this decision at this point. You had months to figure out something that was more fair for everybody than to just do this, fulfilling what some people may say is them angling all the time to try and somehow, some way get St. Louis a home playoff game. Oh, making the championship game in St. Louis 2 years in a row, trying to change the playoff seating in the middle of the season. And now this, where they just end up handing it to them. If you didn't want a perception like that, okay, so we know that you do have these two buildings, right? Flip-flop the conferences then. Have St. Louis and DC go to Birmingham. Birmingham and Michigan come to St. Louis.
Easy fix.
Or have both games in Arlington. We looked it up because I've heard a lot of people float that solution, and I was like, well, we don't know the availability of Choctaw on that weekend. Well, we looked it up in the UFM group chat, and it is available. So they could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But so all of that to say, it'll be interesting to see how Michigan handles Bryce Perkins and how DC handles Tiamu going forward. We said this a little bit on team. Tell me about it. This league is for getting reps on tape. It's not necessarily about the things that would make you want to sit an MVP level quarterback. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and interesting to see how it affects the playoff race, especially since apparently Bryce Perkins is nursing a hurt ankle. So I don't know, maybe Tiamu, but then also like this offense is clicking so perfectly right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to mess it up by taking Tiamu out for long stretches of the game?
Nah.
I don't know. How about you guys listening? Tell us in the comments. How do you think the DC Defenders should handle this situation? Should they, because home field is decided. Both and all four playoff teams are clinched. Like the last 2 weeks of the season, as far as playoff seeding and playoff home field, are completely useless. Win loss don't even matter no more. So you tell us in the comments, how do you think DC should handle this? Because to me, the chemistry of the offense is clicking so well, and the whole point of this league is to get reps on tape anyway. I'd just leave Tiamu in and let the chips fall where they may. Maybe like take him out in the fourth quarter or midway through the third quarter. But he should get at least a half and half a quarter of football per game, I would say, going through the rest of the way. What do you think, Tay?
This whole situation, it invalidates, being the one seed. Like it doesn't matter. They're just giving it to whoever.
Well, again, let's be fair. St. Louis could still take the number one seed.
They could, but that shouldn't be decided before the season's over, though. Like, they can make it right, but they shouldn't have to make it right. It should just be right. And not they have to hope that, that the
hope that it works out.
Yeah, like that's
that's
dumb. They should actually have it correctly to where whoever gets the first seed,
what's funny is they could have done this. They should have announced it at the beginning of the year. If you knew 3 of your 8, it's not like this is, you only got 8 teams. So if you know that 3 of them could have a problem, decide this at the beginning of the year. Right. Announce it at the beginning of the year. Some of our teams are going to have venue issues, so we're announcing right now, USFL conference game is going to be hosted here. XFL conference game is going to be hosted here at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Or you could have had contingencies in place. There's 100 stadiums they could have had the DC host at. They could have gone to Baltimore. I'll think of it in a minute. The Morgan State University. That's the stadium that's hosting another spring league's home team in Baltimore. They could have done it there. Could have had it up in Philly. Could have had it if it was San Antonio. They could have had the game at Incarnate Word College. If it was Michigan, the Michigan issue, it could have been Eastern Michigan. That's on the other side of Detroit, but still, it's close. It's closer than
nice.
I almost said the F word. It's closer than Birmingham is. But here we are. So speaking of this game that is somewhat useless, but still be fun to watch, we're still going to break it down for you guys before and after. Our DC Defenders going to Houston. This will be interested to the line here. The odds are -3. -3 might be how many people are in the stands for this one down there in Houston, because there wasn't that many when Houston was still in contention and now this game is completely just a bunch of nothing. I don't know, man. Probably not going to be that many folks there, but on every level, I expect basically what's happened with Houston every week since Jalen McClendon's come in. Jalen McClendon's going to look pretty good. It's going to be exciting for Houston's future, but DC is just better, and they're going to get the win. Unless, and Coach Harris doesn't seem like the type of guy who's going to do this. He seems he reminds me a little bit of, well, I'm not going to say that because the people, anyways, he doesn't seem like that type of coach that would do mass substitutions. I could see him having the guys in well through the third quarter. So unless he does mass substitutions, which I don't think would happen, I foresee Houston not having enough overall talent to get past DC here. But I do think Jalen McClendon is going to look good as he has looked throughout the weeks and has developed. But I think DC is going to come out with the win. Thoughts on this upcoming Houston matchup?
Okay, so I think this game is tied to the next game as well. I'll get to it in a minute.
Okay, yeah.
So, kind of like we were talking about before, the defenders and the Battlehawks are both 6-2, and they have the home game anyway, but they're not calling it a home game. The defenders.
Oh my God! I didn't realize that we play them 2 weeks in a row.
Have to win. The defenders have to beat the Roughnecks. It would make it so funny for the defenders to beat the Roughnecks and the Battlehawks and really just mess up everything and really make it go wrong. So
make a mockery out of it.
Exactly. The defenders.
And that's probably the motivation. Yeah, that would probably be the type of motivation that Coach Harris would be using to go out there and stomp people out.
I'm expecting a win, like for sure. I'm very confident in this. This is very important. We need to win out and close the season out on a 4-game win streak. That would be perfect for the playoffs. We already got to play, through adversity. They're gonna get a free home game. So yeah, this Roughnecks game is very important, and I think we'll get it done. I've been liking how the offense is going. We'll just keep going until it's enough to win. I need a blowout though. I need to win. I need like a 14-point win. I need one of those this year. Everything's been so close, which is fine. I like the ability to win close games. I need a blowout though. That would just be nice. We're better than the Roughnecks, so we need to blow them out, and we definitely need to win this so we can play the Battlehawks next week and really play for that first seed.
So you think that it's going to be, I was bringing up concerns about maybe this killing the motivation and the morale a little bit, but you think it's going to work the opposite way. Like, this is like kind of a slap in the face, and now they're going to be motivated to go out and stomp Houston and stomp St. Louis and make a mockery of this whole thing. And I could foresee them being up on the podium at the end in a couple of weeks saying, "Oh, we'll see you next week. I know this isn't what everybody wanted, but we're here." I can see that happening. So that is exciting. It'll be very interesting to see how, not to get ahead, not to disrespect Houston whatsoever. Be very interesting to see how that game against the Battlehawks is handled by both sides. These guys are playing each other again in a couple weeks. That game could not be less useless. What are they going to show? Who's going to play?
That's true.
Going to be very interesting. Going to be very, very, very interesting. Well, we hope this episode of DC Defender Show has been interesting. Again, tell us in the comments what you think, how you think DC should handle the rest of the season as far as Tiamu and all the other stars goes. And if there's anything that you want covered more in depth on the show, just leave it in the comments and we will hit it up. We appreciate you all. This is for the people, by the people. It is the DC Defender Show on United Football Media.